Bangladesh has emerged as a major player in the global apparel industry, the second largest exporter of ready-made garments to the United States. It has surpassed traditional suppliers like China and Vietnam. Now, how can it maintain and possibly expand its market share while also addressing some of the challenges of our time, such as increasing wages in the current economic climate and environmental impact? What could an ideal political and economic climate look like in which both higher wages in production and expanding market share in an inflationary US market could be addressed? Our conversation today here on DC to Dhaka, a new Press Xpress offering. Thanks for listening in. I'm Nicolette DeVidar. Now, Bangladesh has made impressive progress. With an annual GDP growth of 6.4% between 2016 and 2021, Bangladesh has outpaced its Asian peers and has done significantly better than the global average of only 2.9%. Bangladesh's GDP per capita, $2,800 in 2022, is higher than India's. Now, with its current growth rate, Bangladesh is on track to become an upper middle income country. Its economic success story is widely attributed to its ability to produce quality garments at affordable prices coupled with ethical manufacturing processes. The global decline, though, for ready-made apparel hit Bangladesh hard. Orders declined by as much as 30%, according to the Boston Consulting Group. Yet with demand for sustainable and ethically made fashion on the rise, Bangladesh's garment sector could be poised for further growth in the coming years, depending on how current challenges can be tackled. Speaking with me first is Shahidullah Azim, VP of Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Association. Thanks so much for joining us. Mr. Azim, let's dive right in. So with the ready-made garment market basically being the key pillar to Bangladesh's success, where are we currently? Like, how is our manufacturers dealing with the changing demand of consumer behavior in the United States, the global decline, and also inflation and manufacturing costs? Where do you see this go?
US and European market is our main market. We're exporting almost 55% to European Union market and 18 to 20% to US market. But last couple of months, our export was decreased due to inflation, economic shrinkage all over the world. So our order was a bit less than earlier, and our growth was a bit less. But for the couple of years, I think after the COVID and geopolitical crisis, we are facing back-to-back challenges globally. And that is why the growth was a bit less. And also same to all over the world for global economy shrinkage.
And now we go to Kimberly Lee Miner, CEO of Bumbershoot, a firm that provides market insights for inclusive, equitable, diverse representation across brands. The retail market is facing major challenges right now in the US, but also globally. What do you see as main challenges or issues currently?
I think there are a few things going on. One, inventory is a problem. And everywhere you go, there's off-season inventory. People are having summer sales and it's almost Christmas. And so I think when we went through the pandemic and so little was available or things came very late, then once the door opened, the supply chain, they needed the orders to stay in business. And so minimums increased. And then businesses obviously needed the inventory and didn't want to pay an upcharge. So then there's too much inventory in the ecosystem. Then the second problem, I think, is because so many brands, unfortunately, lost their way, again, during the pandemic and have had a hard time refinding who their heart is. Because during the pandemic, it was all casual. A lot of retailers are afraid to be a little more innovative or to push the needle because they just don't know. Books are kind of tight because of inventory situations.
So how do we balance then also the additional factor of a changing consumer demand, which I think we're facing here in the United States, but it's a global phenomenon. I mean, consumers are pulling back because of the uncertainties economically, inflation, all these other things that are factoring in. with the global decline, particularly with the ready-made garments, how are retailers currently responding? Are they responding at all, or are they still busy in just dealing with all the issues you just mentioned?
How do you find your customer and then give them what they need so that they know they can come to you, right? That's really the issue we're talking about. Consumers have changed. It changes from day to day. A lot of people are thrifting, not calling it thrifting, circular fashion. What's interesting to me is that Shein partnered with Forever 21, and I think they thought, well, it's a bigger market, right? Shein being D2C, Forever 21 has the retail stores. If we come together, it's an incredible thing. Is how do you manage your open to buy? Where are you getting your production from? Is there opportunity to come local? Are there places that you can have a shorter window so that you're not sitting on all this inventory? There are ways to manage an open to buy 2 weeks out if you're mindful and you're strategic and innovative. If you have your fabric ready to go and you already know what your blocks could be, then it's not necessarily fast fashion because you have it in the pipeline. And then you can make those calls so that you're not sitting on tons of inventory that no one wants.
I totally agree. So I think
Yeah.
we're looking at speed, right? We need to get the cycles shorter. The speed needs to be faster. I also wanted to ask you about the future of the ready-made garment market. Do you see also a shift in products per se? Does it shift more to jacket and outerwear and other stuff, or is there a shift there, or is it more towards sustainable? Definitely, probably towards the sustainable aspect.
I think it's more towards the sustainable aspect because if you think about this year, right now, fall, we're going into, it's November, it's almost December. I live in Ohio. Ohio is generally very cold when it's in the fall. I haven't worn a coat yet. And so that's why I think more so than changing the categories, it's changing your thinking of when you bring it in. And instead of, where I'm saying we need to be more innovative, retailers need to really buy now, right? That's what the customer wants.
I do know that the global market is changing and there is a global decline of the garments. So what are manufacturers currently doing in Bangladesh to actually deal with this? How do they prepare? Are you changing your focus? Are you shifting your focus? Are you looking towards more collaboration?
Yeah. We have started our RMG business with the only 5 basic products earlier. But right now, we have extended our products, diversification of products. Earlier, it was we are only dominated by cotton products, cotton RMG. But right now, the global demand has changed their behavior for man-made fiber, for which we are working. And I hope with a very short time, we can fulfill our desire. We can supply you the man-made fiber for which we are making all the exercises. So I think we can also supply the high-value products, something like outwears, sportswear, jacket, such kind of products. So if we can make the value-added product, I think our revenue will also come up, and which will grow, which will increase our export basket for the US market. So not only for USA, we are changing our items also for European Union market and other market as well.
Now let's talk a little bit about another issue here. So in the past century, very often, and up to this point, a lot of the supply chain was kind of one-way focused. There was, the model has always been the low-cost manufacturing and the higher-end retail and the add-ups. Now, in the new paradigm, in the 21st century, the future is changing a little bit on this one. So we're looking more towards a more balanced approach in terms of how can we actually have higher wages on the one hand and dealing with keep the market share and sort of dealing with the decline of certain aspects. Is there something in the collaboration with US retailers, for example, that can be tackled and changed? Where do you see that go? How do you see this play out?
We have to collaborate because, we are sending same goods as China is sending to you. But in fact, we are getting less price in China or Vietnam. There is always complaint from our manufacturer. Same item, but we are getting less price. However, we want to make our product to the high value product. We are going to make our mind for not for the value added product, not for the volume value. and for which also we have to mix and match. So low-end product and high-end product together, because we cannot make it overnight, all the product high-end. So there, it will be there for low and high-end together. I think that is not problem for our retailers. They're buying from other countries as well, both items, cheap and high-value product.
So I do have a question, though, for what you just mentioned. So why is China getting paid more than Bangladesh is?
I think this is absolutely for the importers or buyers, because we get the price from the customer, which is fixed from by them. And out of their prices, what we are doing, we are buying the raw materials, we are paying the manufacturing cost, the utility bills and all. So I think they know better, because they are paying same product I've seen in the Vietnam and China. This is much more than us. So I think this is not fair, because they have to have some ethical buying system. Same product from everywhere is same, but we are also using all the same material as per their requirement. I don't know why it's different than less than China or Vietnam or other country.
Yeah, and ethical buying actually for U.S. consumers, that is also picking up. So to some degree, U.S. retailers are facing more pressure on this one, because people are starting questions saying like, is this actually a fair trade, or is this not? I want to dive into a little bit more in terms of where is the wiggle room in the collaboration between the retailers and the manufacturers. There was this expectation that you would be able to have a linear growth all the time. Now, with Bangladesh having been so successful in the last decade, really, particularly with all the progress in the ready-made garment industry, how do we kind of also get across to people, and that's generally not just in Bangladesh, but I think all over, the idea that this something cannot always be linearly growing, but everything is cyclical, which is why I think you're optimistic.
Well, I think we also have some pressure from our customers for the increase of the wage for our workers, which we have done. Every 5 years, we have review of the minimum wage for the workers. And this is the time in the December, we already formed a wage board. It consists of labor leaders, entrepreneurs, and government. All together, they have decided the wages, and which we have to honor. And we're doing so. And we want that our workers, they also get good paid. And this is also the responsible for the beneficiaries, for our buyers, because we are working together. We are on the same boat. So one side they are pressuring for more wages for the workers, but the other hand, they are not paying the ethical what we supposed to get, what they are paying to China or Vietnam.
If you look at manufacturers from overseas, particularly South Asia, the old paradigm was very often focusing on price and cost and get it out. Now we have societies there where people also ask for higher wages, but they're looking at higher wages to be paid for the people who work there. You're looking at the same time basically at a decline of consumption among global retail. So somehow there has to be also a different level of collaboration or support, I presume, or I would say, again, with US retailers, for example, and manufacturers overseas. Where do you see that wiggle room? Is that happening? Is there room for improvement? Where are some of the incentives and some starting points?
Yeah, I totally agree with you that it's collaboration, but it goes beyond just the supplier and retailer. It really, to me, is a three-legged stool, because in order for it to really be effective, the consumer has to buy into it also, right? And I think we've been lulled into fast, cheap, right? And the truth is there needs to be some education, because the give and take that I see is the suppliers, they obviously have to make a margin, right? But so do the retailers. Now, coming from specialty retailer, I was with Macy's for a while, but mostly specialty. Those margins have gotten larger, and most investors expect it to go up every year. So there has to be collaboration between the three, because at some point the stool is going to break, because you're not going to be able to push on the suppliers, but so far to get it as quickly as you want and at that price point. So I think there's got to be some wiggle room, and maybe it's in the materials, but I think retailers have an opportunity to bring their margin down just a little bit. But the customer is at the heart of all of this, Nicolette. And if they don't understand that you just can't get it for free and make it sustainable, human rights, we haven't even talked about that, but all of that goes into the product. And you have to, there has to be a mindset change. We need to be more innovative and have shorter lead times. But again, I'm not talking about fast fashion, because there's a way of doing it effectively and doing it with innovation, and not giving away sustainability, because the climate is very important, but there's a way to be plan and mindful and also create a sustainable but a quick response to what customers want.
We've noticed there is a trend that the smaller countries are actually better poised and usually more disruptive to get the handle on these global changes that are going on than other countries. You've seen that in Bangladesh, it actually proved amazingly resilient to all the global shocks, more so than many of the other countries in Asia and also in the Western world. So as an innovator, and from that perspective, where do you see the biggest growth potential going forward, ready-made garment market?
There is a third world country. Our political system is something different than your country. Mm-hmm. And in which we get some struggle during the election period. And I hope we are always, that is European and US market. In mm-hmm. meantime, we have to go for the product diversifications and the market diversity as well mm-hmm. to keep our growth. So in meantime, we are working for that. We are working with the Latin America. We are working with the Australia, Asian market to keep our growth sustainable. And for USA market, the big buyers are there. We are almost 20% we are exporting to US market of our total basket.
Where do you see manufacturers, for example, from South Asia that deliver a lot of our ready-made garments? I know Bangladesh, for example, is in the meantime the second largest supplier to the United States. They surpass China and Vietnam in what
was large.
It's really, really big. So where do they factor in? Do you see where they can make some adjustments maybe to better fit into that new paradigm?
Because Bangladesh is so large, right? And so many companies are dependent on them, or some are probably even tethered because they have such a big hole. They have responsibility. Obviously their customer are the retailers, but I think there's opportunity for the suppliers to partner with the retailers to educate the consumer so that they can get into a better place.
And last question, any support you wish to get from the government, for example, that is coming on or that is in place already?
In fact, our government, business-friendly government, they are always supporting us, policy support. They always with us because, as you know, we are the RMG export is the main item for us, our sector. This is a single sector where we have exporting out of total 85% from RMG sector. So government is also very much concerned for our sector. They are trying to always give us support whenever we need support, that the policy support or other support. Even you have seen that after the COVID, they supported us a lot. We had to have closed our factory for 2-3 months. They have give the incentive to us for the workers' salary and all, which we have already returned to the government. But the government also, I think they are also happy with us, and they are supporting us whenever we require their support.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons why you actually did better than most other countries. Thanks for watching. We wanted to shed some light today onto the challenges, but also opportunities for going forward with the ready-made garment industry. A big player in Bangladesh's success story. One that can even be refined and perhaps pivoted into yet another success story of greater growth going forward. I'm Nicolette DeVidar from Washington, D.C. See you next time.